Hi there, David here, and I'm just going to explain how to get hold of your report that looks like the Columnar format that the original Tumaini Open School format showed. So transactions were on the left in terms of the descriptions, and then there was a Columnar report going across to the right. So this is all covered in the guidance manual, but this is a short video to show you how to actually do it. So in the Cashbook manual, we have our table of contents, and if we go down to reporting with pivot tables, there's a section on daily reporting, description of the various ones, and the one you want is listing across the columns, page 26. So I just tapped on that and it jumps to reporting across the columns. So the layout is the one you asked about. So we've got date, folio, description, and then the various headings starting with income, and then the expenditure codes going up in numerical order. So each month we'll have a pink band across the bottom with the total, which is what you used to do, and you've got your grand total of all the months in grey, which we'll see live in a minute. So the way to get to the up-to-date figures, we'll be using the control totals report to start with, and so the instructions are here on page 25. So you just click into the report, so you just tap on the cell, click on the pivot table analysis ribbon, which will show a refresh button, and then you just click on refresh and that'll bring the figure up. And update everything. If you like using the menu, the right click menu, just again click into the cell, right click, and you'll have a menu that shows refresh, and you can just tap on that or select that, and again it'll bring up the numbers as you want. So let's have a look on your live spreadsheet. You've got the transactions entered for January, and you've got your bank and cash details, and you've got all the codes entered. And what we want to look at is first of all the control totals. So this is report number 2, the control totals, and we can click into the cell on the pivot table. In this case it's coloured grey, and we can go up to the ribbon bar here, pivot table, and press refresh. That will update the figures. And if you like to use the menus, we can go right click, produces a menu, fourth one down, refresh, gives us a figure. So we're looking in your Columnar report for the total at the end, or the net figure, 7817049. Move to 3, we're going to update the pivot table. So we can do it either way, pivot table, refresh, or we can do refresh with the right click. And our figure there, 7817049, and as you'll recall, 7817049, all is well. So what does this report actually look like? Well, if we do a helicopter view, as I like to call it, you'll see, well, it's quite wide actually, isn't it? You've got lots of columns there, which is exactly why we wrote the system. Well, one of the reasons. Sheila said, you will have many columns in the future. We now have many more columns, and we'll have more in the future. So you've got your descriptions on the left, all the columns with each individual account, and then you've got a sum of transactions going across on the right hand side, and then at each month end you'll have a figure and the grand total for the year. So if we drill into this a little bit, there you are, you can see you've got your date, folio number. If you've got the same folio number against a number of items, it doesn't repeat the number here. We can adjust that if you want to, but ideally we'd have a separate folio number for each line, because then it would be easy to trace the backing documents that you store. So just keeping this quite big for the moment. When there's a transaction to do with income, let's say here 110, grant income other, we've got this 689,000 shillings from table tennis from Bounce, so that's clearly your donor, and we'll just follow that across. So that item goes across, and adds to any others that were on that particular, well, no, there's only one per line. So there's the total coming up there, and we can see that every time you have a transaction, it totals to the right on the grand total. And you can see everything laid out nicely there. So let's have a look. All right, let's just see what's happening here. So there's quite a lot in this area here. So if we say there's 55,110, if I want to look quickly to the left, I can do Shift and Command, or Shift and Control, and press left arrow button, and it'll light up everything going to the left-hand side. This is just normal Excel. And then I can easily trace, well, that's textbooks. And if I want to see that figure showing up in the grand total on the other side, again, Shift and Control and the right arrow, and it'll go all the way across to the end of the table. And there's the 551,000 there carried across. So you can see that any one particular transaction shows up where you'd expect it to under its heading of textbooks in this case. So you've got it coded 310. The textbooks agrees with textbooks in terms of your description. So we're adding across and we're adding down. Let's see those textbooks just going down the heading 551. There are 551,000. So that's your January total, the first red or pink line. And there's the grand total for the year. So that's your old columnar format, but the more code you put in, the more you're going to have going to the right hand side, and so we can talk about how you print that out if you particularly want to. But for the moment, that's what you were looking for, and I'm glad to say it's a good question, and it just goes to show that pivot tables need to be learnt, and hopefully this will be a good learning experience. Thank you.